Village of Bartlett special board meeting for August 7, 2024. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Daney?
Here.
Gansey?
Here.
GUNSTEEN?
Here.
Hopkins?
Here.
Laporte?
Here.
Sawanski?
Here.
President Wallace.
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to our consent agenda this evening. All items listed with an asterisk will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on items on the consent agenda. With that being said, anybody on the board like to add or remove anything from consent?
As President Wallace, I would like to add item A1, a resolution stating the Village of Bartlett's opposition to the map amendment and plan unit development for the motor freight terminal in a designated environmentally sensitive area located at 31 West 222 West Bartlett Road.
Anybody have any issues with that?
Not at all.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to amend the consent agenda this evening, which will include the bills list from August 7, 2024. We'll also be adding to the consent item A1 under Building and Zoning Committee.
I'll second that.
Need a first.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Sawanski. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Sawanski?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
That motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended consent.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Gunstein. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Sawanski?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next portion of our meeting this evening is the questions and answers. Anybody have any questions for staff?
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby, press *21.
Thank you for that, John.
I thought that was my code to get into the computer. I just have a couple things I'd like to mention. I want to commend the Bartlett Police Department for National Night Out. It was absolutely fantastic. We had a great time. And the turnout, I know that the Lions Club they had told me they had 4,000 hot dogs, and they only had a few left. And the crowd there by the pavilion in Bartlett Park was incredible. I would guess that we had at least 2,000 people there. That would be a guess. And the drive, pitch, and putt contest on Sunday was really something to see. Some of these kids, the way they can hit a ball. Well, Kevin and I...
Better than you, huh?
No, I was going there. Kevin and I play a lot of golf together, and I'd take some of these kids over Kevin. But thank you. Shout out to the Bartlett Police Department. And then I just got a little bit of information that I'd like to share with everyone. I just found out that our Planning and Development Director, Christy Stone, was recently engaged, so congratulations. When's the wedding? 20 years. Okay.
She's not going to tell you. You'd crash it.
Purgatory state.
You're not invited, Ray.
Make sure you have an open bar. That's all I have this evening.
Anybody else have any questions for staff? Comments? Embarrassing questions? All right, moving on to the town hall portion of the meeting. If anybody would like to address the board, kindly step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. We will be very strict about the 3 minutes tonight.
My name is Colt Moylan. I live at
What's your name?
Colt Moylan. I live at 1467 Wiki Avenue in Des Plaines. So good evening, Village President, Village Trustees, and staff. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Like I said, my name is Colt Moylan, and although I do not reside in Bartlett, I am here on behalf of the 135 IBW electricians and their families members who do. Our working men and women at the IBW are leaders in the electrical industry, setting the standards in safety, training, and education. Being a union electrician does not only earn you a decent wage, but it provides you the opportunity for a pathway to the middle class. Our 135 union members and their families have chosen Bartlett as their place to call home. They are your neighbors, your friends, leaders in the community. I believe they know they can count on city leaders to have their backs and provide them the opportunity to work in their own community on a development like the one we are discussing today. And I would like to commend the council and the staff that worked on this development agreement. Not only was it a win for the city to stimulate development, but it's a win for workers who live in the community, guaranteeing them a livable wage, the highest safety standards, and a reinvestment in that worker who is a taxpayer, who also subsidized this project. I asked the council, why let the developer go back on his word to you and to the residents? The developer needs to stick to his promise made to the union workers who live in your community. Please vote no today, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Colt.
Everybody, Jim Mansfield, Bartlett resident since 1997, union plumber for 35 years. Had the honor of building the product right across the street, New England Builders at the time, all 100% union. Had no issues, no problems, on time, on budget. No games were being played across the street, and we got it done on time. My understanding with the agreement, to extend it, he wants to change the agreement that was initially made when, correct me if I'm wrong, the property was sold by the village of Bartlett to this gentleman? Okay, and the agreement was to use union labor?
No, it was not specified in the original agreement.
Okay. Well, my understanding it was. I tried to look up some permits on it. There's nothing out there for any permit issues. He shows CBM plumbing. To their knowledge, they have no permit. They did give some numbers, but they had no this project in detail, I don't know if they're assigned to do the underground, the site utilities, or they're going to do above ground in the building.
I'm not 100% sure how you got that information. The contractor list.
I was a Park District Commissioner for 10 years, so I was accessible to some of this thing. I know how to get information, Kevin.
Well, that wasn't public.
Oh, my understanding, it should have been. Because it's my tax dollars that was used to be sold off at a lower end. So all I'm here is in defense, just like our fellow electricians. You know, we also have roughly about 70 plumbers between apprentices, journeymen, and retired members that are very proud of this town, just like I am. I'm a very proud resident of this town. We have a lot of union personnel in here. It's going to be right on Main Street. I think it's something that we could do better with than using outside, or at least give the union an opportunity to bid the job. That's all I'm asking in support.
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby, press *21.
Sorry about that. No.
But that's all I'm asking the board is to look at, honor the agreement, and you know, hopefully it goes the right way. And I understand numbers, but you know what? There's also opportunity to reach out to the contractors and see what we could do and help out also. So I appreciate your time. I ask the board to really think about your vote coming into this. Hopefully the agreement is a good one and we move forward, everything's fine, because we need to prosper like we've been doing in this great town that I live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else like to address the board at this time?
Jay Langfelder, 415 South Hickory, Bartlett, Illinois. I want to, on July 27th, I want to commend the Public Works and also the Fire District, Nicor Gas, on the sewer main that broke late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. We had to knock on the door at 3 a.m. To notify us that the gas will be shut off. They dug a trench to shut off the gas off at Devon, and they did an excellent job. They considered the safety of the community, and I commend the police department there, the fire district, and Nicor Gas on a spectacular job. And on our neighbor, what happened was, and I took pictures of it, it was shooting water up almost 3.5 feet high. And when they discovered there was a pipe burst of natural gas, they called Nicor. So they did an excellent job, and I commend the village on that. So thank you. On the other hand, the resolution for approving the second amendment to the amended development agreement between the village and Manny Refidia, LLC, that plan was approved in 2020 by Dr. Michael Kammer, who was on this board. And it gave a time limit of 2 years. And so far, Manny came back twice for a reduction in price on that plot of land. So every time, now this is a second amendment on a reduction of a project that was approved and on an apartment building. So it's not the best interest of the village of Bartlett to always come back and renegotiate a contract where it was within 2 years. Now it's 4 years. And we had a lot of people that came in that opposed this project because of the apartment complex of the amount of units. So I plead with the board to say no to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. John, do we have anybody online that would like to address the board?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Very good. Anybody else in the audience? Seeing none, we'll move on to the standing committee reports this evening. First standing committee report is Building and Zoning Committee, Chairman Gunstein.
Thank you, President Wallace. Item number A2 today is residents at Bartlett Station, Second Amendment to the amended development agreement. On May 5th, 2020, the village board entered into a development agreement with Manny Refidia developer for 90-unit apartment development known as Residence at Bartlett Station. The Residence at Bartlett Station is a proposed 90-unit apartment development located at the southwest corner of East Railroad Avenue and South Berteau. Comprising of approximately 1.87 acres, the subject property was previously owned by the village of Bartlett. In conjunction with the approval of the development agreement, the village entered into a purchase-sell agreement to sell the property to the developer. The developer agreement and the purchase-sale agreement were subsequently amended several times. The developer has represented to the village that further amendments to the development agreement are necessary based on the changing market conditions and the external factors outside the developer's control. The developer has requested the following items: an amendment to replace the current construction management consultant, Gooper Group Corp., with Donovan Consulting Services. The developer has indicated that the principal of Gooper Group has relocated out of the area. The second is an amendment to revise the list of required union contractors. The developer has represented that the cost for the concrete and foundation work and plumbing have risen significantly since the development agreement was approved in 2020. The developer has requested that the development agreement be revised to eliminate the requirements for concrete, foundation, and plumbing work to be paid prevailing union wage. The proposed second amendment will approve the two requested amendments by the developer and will also require the developer to submit full revised architectural plans for the apartment development no later than September 30th, 2024. I also want to add that he's required to provide monthly updates during his construction process.
That's part of the PUD extension ordinance.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that, I would like, we have any questions or?
No, we'll do questions after you make a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 202472.
No.
Oh, which one is that?
66.
I'm sorry, 2024-66R, sorry. With that, does anybody have any questions?
Second.
Moved by trustee Gunstein, seconded by trustee Daney. Is there any discussion?
So this is the development agreement.
This is strictly the development agreement.
So could we get some clarification? because I think I've just heard two different, two things that were a little bit different. In the original development agreement in 2020, 5 trades were required to be union or prevailing wage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I think maybe the confusion is the memo that was drafted prior to the last meeting, there was still a request to change plumbing. That was withdrawn prior to the board meeting when we discussed it last. So that,
There were prevailing wage trades involved in the original agreement.
yes, 5 trades are required to be paid not less than prevailing wages under the current form of the development agreement.
Trustee Gunstein spoke of monthly updates. What is the purpose of that? And if he doesn't meet any of the time limits for construction, what then?
So that's related to the PUD extension, and the requirement for the monthly updates is part of that PUD ordinance, and it's part of our PUD code. And it says that the board can request monthly updates on any PUD. So we have included that in the PUD ordinance that you'll be considering next.
Okay.
Kurt, can you explain what happens if we vote no, how that affects the union's ability to work on the project going forward?
So if we vote no, this is just an amendment to the agreement. So the current development agreement is still in effect, still valid. So right now, there's 5 trades that are required to be paid not less than prevailing wages. The second amendment here is asking to change some of that. If the board votes no, then we just revert to the current form of the development agreement, meaning the developer has to pay prevailing wages to those 5 trades, and we just keep going with the current form of the development agreement.
Can the 2 amendments to replace the construction management consultant be severed from the eliminating the requirement for concrete and plumbing?
If the board would like that, yeah, they can.
What was that? I couldn't hear.
Can the replacing the management consultant be severed from the union, the prevailing wage request?
If I'm hearing you correctly, what you're suggesting is that we amend the second amended agreement and we leave in the ability for them to replace the management group, but take out the ability for them to replace the prevailing wages. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 changes from the original to now.
So the only change then would be for the construction management company from Goupart to Donovan. That's what you're proposing?
Yes.
And everything else would revert back to the 2020 development agreement.
Everybody understand that?
I would suggest if we're okay with that, we can vote on it tonight. I would bring back that revised draft just for the board to kind of ratify that's what they're okay with. But we won't, if the board wants to. But if you're comfortable with understanding how it's going to look like right now, it's just going to be, if we're looking at the development of the second amendment, it's paragraph 2, that would remain. Paragraph 3 would be eliminated.
Let me ask you a question. If we vote no tonight on the whole thing, can staff can staff change that internally?
The change to the amendment agreement, the actual development agreement would still have to
No,
be.
I'm talking about the consultant company. Can that be changed at a staff level if this votes is no?
The agreement's too specific on that, so that's something that does have to be approved by the board. So that's why if you're comfortable.
But that can come back as a solo.
Yes.
So we could revert this back, and then the solo amendment can come back, because there's no, it's not like that contractor's getting hired today.
Yes.
And that can come back as a separate item later.
Yes.
For that sole item.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, obviously, the developer would have to agree to that, but
Okay.
we can certainly bring that back. Yeah.
And clarify again, all contractors in the original agreement had to pay a prevailing wage, or?
Not all, no. So there's a section of the development agreement that requires 5 specific trades to be paid union wages. There's the concrete foundation, roofing and sheet metal, plumbing, the sprinkler contractor, and the fire alarm contractor. Those were what are required to be paid union wages right now.
That goes back to 2020, the original agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
May of 2020. Any other questions?
So we're not losing another union tonight. I guess I'm confused on what we're voting on right now then. What's changing? Like,
It would,
what's-
if we vote yes, it would vote to eliminate the requirement for concrete and plumbing to be union. If we vote no, it reverts back to the original agreement, which requires
The other
union
five,
prevailing wage
those
on
five.
those trades. And at that point, that's the development agreement that's got to be followed, because that was voted on in 2020, way before us, so,
Speak for yourself.
I'm sorry. Us.
But since the construction management consultant is apparently not available,
Yeah.
we could take that piece separately and say, yes, we understand that you need to find another consultant.
I think we should just have them bring it back to
Have
us.
them bring that back separately.
Again, as a separate amendment. I think it'd be easier, because then we can vet it if it's a different one. That's just my opinion. Seems like that's a small part of this.
Does everybody understand what we're talking about?
I don't.
It's not that complicated. So right now, they're trying to amend the contract.
Right.
To remove two of the trades to be prevailing wage union, and actually swap out the manager, the
That's right.
construction manager. What Renee is talking about is, in this particular agreement, taking the two trades out of this amended agreement and leaving his ability to swap the construction manager out tonight versus waiting until our next board meeting.
But the agreement would default to the original tonight.
If we just leave it the way it is, it would default to the original. Everybody understand
I
that?
do understand.
Didn't we pick up 2 unions from the original contract? So was it 5 originally, now we're up to 7?
So the proposal would add 3 additional union contractors, yes. So they would be adding precast, structural steel, and elevator. Those were not specified. Precast was non-union in the original agreement, and elevator and structural steel weren't specified one way or the other in the original agreement.
So if we vote yes tonight to move forward, then 2 more unions benefit. If we vote no tonight, then 2 less unions will benefit. They won't benefit.
Overall, that's,
Voting yes
We're
tonight, we're
eliminating
helping
We're
to,
eliminating 2.
Or actually, if you vote yes tonight, you're adding 2 additional unions to the operation.
so more families would be taken care of, as opposed to voting no, it would go back to 5 unions, and so 2 unions less, so those families would suffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought he still had paid prevailing wage regardless.
no, not for all of them. Since it's a private project, we negotiated that he would pay prevailing wages to some of the trades as part of that original deal.
In this agreement, he wants to eliminate the plumbing contractor, right? Still?
That was, the concrete was the main one that he was seeking to change. The plumbing was withdrawn right before the last meeting, so that was taken off the table. So I think right now, technically, what we still have before us includes the plumbing.
Yeah.
But if we want to go back to that, again, that was taken off the table by the developer prior to the last board meeting.
But it's still in this state right now, though. If we vote yes on this,
I guess I would
someone
like,
would have to make a motion to change that, correct?
If we want to vote yes on this, then, and we want to limit it to that, then yes.
Good.
Well, to my knowledge, as long as I've been on this board, we've never required a developer to determine his union or non-union usage. And if somebody's going to invest tens of millions of dollars in our community, I really have a hard time believing that they're not going to use reputable work.
I would like to hear from the petitioner on 2 and 3. I don't know if we could do that if we're just talking about one at a time, but,
One at a time.
okay. Then I'd like to hear from the petitioner on reasons or just anything that you've heard and your feelings.
My name is Manny Orfidia, 2 Star Lane, South Barrington. This is my son.
Jeremy Orfidia, 2 Star Lane, South Barrington, Illinois.
So 2020 started out when we approached the village on purchasing the property. things took slow down because of the COVID situation, and it sat for 2 years. Aldi came about, which we personally brought Aldi to this town. There'd been no Aldi without us. And the reason why, because of the way we cleaned up that property from stage 4 cancer to 31 vibrating tenants today. You wouldn't have had 31 vibrating tenants. And every time we lost one, we were able to replace it with or without union trade. We have no problem with union trades. On the contrary, the reason 2022 came about because we gave so much concessions to Aldi. We lowered our rent from $185,000 a year ground lease to $115,000, and we put so much burden on ourselves with prohibits uses on our shopping center to be allowed to go into our shopping center because Aldi put these prohibits. And we worked with the mayor and with the former trustees, and we said, we want this tenant to be here. It's good for the community, it's good for the village, it's good for us. It's a win-win-win situation. So we asked the village to help us, and that's where 2022 came in. I said, how could you help us by us giving all this millions of dollars in concessions to Aldi plus prohibits uses, meaning I cannot open certain type of businesses that they don't want me to open or they don't want us to open. We agreed. And that put like a stroke on us on how free we can rent our own property because these prohibit uses. We went along and the village came back and allowed us discount on the land. And that was number 2, why it took the second time to do the Second Amendment. And as we went on from 2022 to 2023, prices were off the roof, union and non-union. We couldn't get anything reasonable. Unions were unreasonable, non-union trades were unreasonable. But between the channels, we found our ways to pick and choose the best deal between all the trades. We have no problem with unions. I repeat, we have no problem with you. We want trade quality. And with all due respect to the mayor and the trustees today, we are so confident in our inspectors who will come and inspect every work, whether it's a union trade or whether it's non-union trade. What's the difference? They will make sure the work is done right. It's not going to be done wrong. It is a very, very dangerous situation on a 5-story building that we don't do everything is required from us. We need to do testing on soils every day. We need to do testing on concrete every day, testing on steel every day. It's going to be samples will be taken to the lab and tested and reported. So what's the difference here? The difference is one, competitive pricing with certain trades that allow us to be profitable or end up putting us underground and not been able to complete this project successfully. Now, we proved ourselves by when we sat in front of this board or the previous board, and we told them this stage 4 cancer center was going out, and we're going to turn it around in 1 year and fill it up, remodel it and fill it up. And somehow, some of the trustee members left, and I still hear that ring in my ear. Oh, 1 year, sure. Turn around, we took it in the middle of COVID in June of 2019 and turned it around by the end of 2020, fully remodeled and occupied. That doesn't prove anything. It proves that we're capable to deliver, whether union trade were employed or not. Non-union trade were employed in that shopping center. And it was completed, and it passed all the inspection, and it was completely filled up. That gives us 1 star that we were able to deliver. Second, and this is why it's so important, we delivered with our budget. The village asked us, do you have the money? And I said, yes, we have the money. They didn't ask us for proof of money. Now they're asking us for proof of money. They're asking us where you're getting the money. We brought in statements from the bank. We brought in residual amount needed to finish the project by approval letter from a lender. We are being treated here like amateurs. We own and operate today 12 properties with about 200 or more tenants, with almost 5% or less vacancy. That is a big credit. We operate better than the higher most owners of shopping centers, owners who know what they're doing. So if they know what they're doing, we have to be better than them. So I'm asking the board today to vote yes. We are asking you to replace the concrete contract. It's $1 million more by a union versus non-union. The plumbing contractor, $750,000 by union rather than union. Now, comes to the flex concrete or concrete hello between the floors.
The precast.
Precast. We found a company, which is Midwest, a very well-known company, that did and signed with us for $500,000 less than non-union. We found a Chandler elevator who signed with us with $150,000 less than non-union. So give the developer their chance to operate and do their business.
Those are union trades.
Those are union trades, yes. And we replaced them with non-union trades. So we're asking the board today to vote yes. We are doing what makes sense for us, not what makes sense to others. If the union have the money and willing to subsidize, welcome. Subsidize anything you want, and we'll give you the contract. You cannot sit outside and anyway strike and do whatever you want. It's your business. It's our business to do what we want. It's our business. We're putting over $20 million in this project from our sweat money. We deserve to be given a chance to do what we want, not what other people want. Thank you.
So I'm not going to deny that everything in Streets of Bartlett.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, everything in the Streets of Bartlett has turned out great. It changed it. It was a great job, turned it around, great. I think it's 2 separate projects. I guess I want to just know, like, if it was no, will you entertain working with the unions?
No. I will only work with union who are competitive and can give me more competitive pricing than non-union. That's the only way I will work. It's a free enterprise. Bartlett is not the city of Chicago where we have to use union. There's nothing in the ordinance. My son prepared all these ordinances and picked them out from the Bartlett. There is no ordinance in the Bartlett law that says that we have to use any union contractors. And I keep repeating, there's no hard feeling against the union. There's no hard feeling. Please understand, everyone here. It is just a matter of economics. And the delays in this project is because everyone knows, until today, we're still fighting this pricing and labor costs, which is crazy. And lastly, I have to say that, and with all due respect to Bartlett, I love Bartlett. Of all my 12 shopping centers, it's my favorite town, my favorite mayor, and of course, trustees. It's just the rate of rent has not escalated in the same level as the cost of goods and labor that has been. Mount Prospect renting for $3.75 a foot. Schaumburg, $3 a foot. Des Plaines, $3.75 a foot. We're still fighting $1.85 to $2. We're going to try to step it up to $2.25 per square foot. So the economics of rental income is so hard, and I don't understand why. Maybe as we build and we show a beautiful, most modern building with a lot of amenities, that we can jump it up to $250, but it is just very, very tough situation. We're paying for steel here today, just like the builder who built in Mount Prospect, but he's getting $3.75 a foot, where we're only able to get $2 per square foot rental. That's it.
Can you give us some examples of some of the prohibited businesses that Aldi put into their contract?
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby, press star 2.
Please repeat that.
Could you give us some examples of the prohibited businesses that Aldi built into their contract with you?
So we cannot open a bar that will sell more than 50% of food. We cannot have
50 more percent of liquor.
Of liquor than food. We cannot have a tobacco shop. We cannot have a liquor store, except for the existing. So if a liquor store leaves now, we cannot replace it with another liquor store. We cannot have a sports bar that will have more than 6 pool tables in it. We cannot have, other stuff that I don't want, like, marijuana or massage parlors, which I don't want in the first place. There's a few others, but I can't recall all of them. But most importantly, Peggy from Midway, going out of business. And that's almost 20,000 square feet. Now she's turning it over to me. I'm the landlord. So what do I do with it? I need to figure out a way to work around the prohibits of Aldi to make it work as a sports bar. So that's a big, big burden on me to maybe keep it as half bowling alley, add smaller sports bar, and just have to be very creative because Aldi said you can't do that, and I agreed, not knowing in one day that the bowling alley will not succeed and be in business. And by the way, I have replaced 4 tenants who went out of business since I took over and was able to convert them to another tenant without downtime. Immediately as I found the tenants having ill and weak business practices, I was able to look around and replace. With Midway, I can't find replacement to come and take the bowling alley. Now, I'm going to jump in and put my money in it. And I said that from day one when I started the shopping center. I said, guys, I'm going to put my own money in this. I'm going to help tenants who's going to come in here and borrow them money to open their businesses. And I did. And some of them stiffed me and walked away from me. And I still bit the bullet and replaced them with someone else and kept going. Never came back here to cry, change the amendment, change this, give me more money, give me more money. No, I don't do that. Yet I kept the occupancy at 100% all throughout. Even when we lost one tenant, we had one already replaced right away.
Well, I just want to defend our staff here. I know Aldi's is a big boost for our community, but it was a joint effort with our staff and the concessions and stuff that were made along the way. So I just want to make sure we remember that.
I'm not discarding that, and I'm not under.
I understand.
I just want you to know, they would never come on non-main streets. If you look around Aldi, what attracted them is the beauty of the shopping center and the full occupancy of it. If you look all over the nation, out of their 8,500 stores, you will never find them on non-Main Street, except in this town. They're on non-Main Street, Devon Avenue and Main Street.
I don't disagree with you.
And 95% of the time, they require another large grocery store across the street. Yeah. I'm curious, have you talked to, let me get Mr. Mansfield right behind you, have you talked to them about trying to get a competitive bid with the plumbing? I mean, if there's...
At any time, I am willing and I'm open. I will put on the table.
This isn't really a union versus
I mean,
non-union,
I'm
it's just a dollars and cents thing.
The CBM came at $2.5 million. Allstate, who's another company, came at $1,750,000, and All-in-One came at $1.5 million. So what am I going to come to? I just, I don't want to put myself in this situation where look what they're giving me, look what you guys giving me, and it's like I feel like it's not effective way of business practice. Business practice is free enterprise. I get to choose what makes sense to me, not what makes sense to others. And if I'm gonna go pick them, why did they come in with when they presented that union contract with $2 million? And I have $1,750,000. I could have gone back to them and said, guys, knock it down $100,000, I'll work with you. But they came up $750,000 more than the $1,750,000. I'm taking the higher one than the $1,450,000 or $1.5 million. I'm not sure, $1,475,000. So I'm just getting in one example now. The concrete contract. It is $1 million in difference. Why is it $1 million? Who we paying that money to? Why a regular non-union contractor could do it for $2 million, $1,965,000, where a union contractor wants $2,950,000 for the same job? You know what I did? I carved out the union contract scope of work. And I hand it to the non-union, so I will be able to get apple for apple. I wasn't playing games like, give me your quote, and I want to see what you can do. No, I took the union contract, I carved it out, the scope of work, and I handed it to the guy without any pricing in it. I said, give me a quote on this. And I was as fair as I could be. Why is this differential in pricing? I don't understand.
I totally agree with the free enterprise statement that you made.
So that's actually a really good point. So when you entered into this contract in 2020, it made sense for us. Now we're in 2024 and we still don't have a shovel in the ground. And to me, it doesn't make sense anymore. You got the price that you paid for that land on the backs of our residents was practically nothing.
The residents got more break.
The incentives you got for development, it's been dragging on for over 4 years. The staff time, you haven't even reimbursed. Nothing.
The money that I gave and the concession that I gave to this deal is a lot more than the village.
What concessions have you give to Site E?
Aldi.
So it sounds like, do you have buyer's remorse with Aldi's? It sounds like you shouldn't, it's like you don't want Aldi's there.
I have remorse to the community, sir. Community benefited from Aldi being here and got good pricing, and the village got sales tax rebate from Aldi. There's 2 pluses for you and 1 plus for me. So please don't get on where you think I was dragging because I wanted to get benefits and ride on the village and the staff. No. Absolutely not.
You sat here and you said, I can't do this in my shopping center. I can't do this in my shopping center. I can't do this because of Aldi. It sounds like you don't want Aldi there.
No, absolutely not. I wanted Aldi. I said I gave concessions. Please don't switch the words. I said I gave concession to make the deal happen. And don't twist my word. I ask you very, very respectfully.
I'm not twisting your words.
Yes, you are twisting my words, and I respectfully ask you not to. It's not fair.
I have a quick, can I just interject on that? You're talking about the concessions as far as the prohibited businesses?
And the concession that I gave by lowering the original lease agreement ground lease agreement from $185,000 a year to $115,000, $60,000 a year, times 20-year lease, that's $1,200,000 plus interest on all that money, plus 10% escalation every 5 years. Add this money up, it's almost $2 million in money.
Okay. The prohibited business, though, that's not you. I don't think that's targeted to you, right? That's their contract with anyone. Would that be correct?
But it's negotiable. I can negotiate the hell out of it, and I tell them, I don't want to do it, get the hell out of here. No, I chose the community. I chose the staff that this mister say, I wrote on the staff back. It's not true. I chose the community. I chose the staff here above my interest to make this happen.
Now, let's do us all a favor here and get off of Aldi. It has nothing to do with this developer agreement. We've gotten way down a rabbit hole. Let's just discuss what's happening with the developer agreement. You need to control this.
All right, so do we have any other questions on this?
In the last meeting that we had, I think we were originally presented with the original agreement plus making a concession on the concrete. Is that correct?
So-
And then before the meeting started, we were asked to add plumbing.
So plumbing was a part of the original request. It was plumbing and concrete, I guess.
Not in June. Not in
I'm
our-
sorry, I was talking about the last board.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When we discussed it in executive session, it was concrete. And then it came before us, and it was concrete and plumbing. And then the plumbing was pulled off at the last minute.
And it's back on now.
Now it's back on.
We're still being asked to add. We're not taking away anything. We're being asked to add.
Correct.
That is correct.
In an executive session, I think we talked about a shorter PUD period.
I'm not sure we're supposed to be
Yeah, we
discussing.
don't
Yeah,
want
we
to
can't talk about
We
that.
don't want to discuss too much about what we're discussing in executive session.
So what we talked about in executive session was not a year of a PUD extension.
This is not a PUD extension right now. We're talking
I'm
about
just saying
development agreement.
I'm just saying.
So we'll get to that one next. Any other questions, Ray, Joe? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rafidia. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for being here. There's no other questions.
We need a motion.
We already got it.
We've got a motion, we've got a,
We need a motion.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Oh, do we have a motion?
Yes.
There's a motion and a second.
Okay, fine.
And this is the developer agreement. This is
Not the
to
PUD.
developer agreement.
This is just the amendment to the development agreement.
Ready?
We're ready.
Trustee Laporte?
Yes.
Sawansky?
No.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
No.
Gunstein?
No.
Hopkins?
No.
That motion fails. Mr. Chairman?
Yep. So, Mr. President, item number 2A is a, let me pull up here. All right. Ordinance, oh, that's not it. Yes, it is. Okay. Residents at Bartlett Station, a ordinance 2021-74 granted a special use and plan approvals for the resident of Bartlett Station planned unit development. The village previously entered into a purchase sale agreement and the development agreement, which have both been amended several times. The developer's deadline to commence the construction were extended as part of the amendments. The developer has represented that the construction of the project has been delayed due to external market conditions and is requesting the village board grant a one-year extension of the construction commencement deadline. If approved, construction of the first floor above ground grade must begin by July 16, 2025, or the village would have the ability to revoke the PUD approvals. The ordinance would also require that the developer provide monthly written detailed progress reports for the construction. With that, I move to approve ordinance number 2024-77.
67.
I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, 67, an ordinance granting an extension for the construction to commence for the residents at Bartlett Station, PUD.
I'll second that.
Moved by trustee Gunstein, seconded by trustee Daney. Is there any discussion?
Can we get a description of what would entail one floor above ground, what that would mean?
Christie, I think that's your cue.
So we don't just want to see the foundation in the ground, so we want to have the flooring, we want to start seeing walls going up on that first floor.
Any other?
Like a ceiling over the first floor or just walls?
So typically, we have like a foundation-only permit, which the petitioner's implied that that's something that he'd like to pursue. We want to make sure that they're constructing actually on the building itself, beyond the foundation. So if we were just saying we want to see walls up, we want to make sure that there's something above grade going on. If you want to be more restrictive than that, then you could specify that.
I just wanted clarification.
And then the village makes that determination?
And the village board would also be getting the monthly updates so that we can make sure that there is progress going on the project.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Is there anything set in stone that this has to be an extension for a year?
The board can shorten that under the code. The only caution I would say is that we want to make sure that it's realistic so that we're not having, requests again to extend and extend. I think the intent here was to go for the first floor because that is realistic. I think the developers represented that he can do that. I think in March was what his, the last we heard from his attorney was March when they were going to go vertical. This gives a little bit of a cushion, but puts that hard deadline out there.
Or if it was changed, we'd have to amend that requirement to be at the first floor by that time frame.
Yeah.
Giving him X amount of months that we pick and a deadline of, let's say, shovel in the ground or something of that nature. Different, because this is a 1 year to get foundation and a first floor elevation up. So if I'm reading through this correctly, based off the previous vote, it diverts back to the May 2020 development agreement.
There was an amendment to that, so
Yeah.
it would be that agreement as amended, but as far as the union contractors,
All stays.
we are back to that original 5 that is in the agreement as it stood before today and since that last amendment.
Okay, and so that reverts back to the original agreement.
List of contractors.
Plus, okay.
Yes.
And this 1 year gives him from now, when does he have to have his plan submitted by?
September.
So the end of the next month? Okay. So, just for clarification, that was all.
Any other questions? No. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Swansky?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
No.
Laporte?
Yes.
My motion carries. Thank you, Chairman Gunstein. That was a fun time.
I have nothing more.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing more.
Nothing more?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Chairman Gunstein. Any new business anybody would like to discuss? Anybody have any questions? Oh, okay. Any questions for staff? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Gunstein. Will clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney?
Yes.
Gansey? Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.